Hello everyone and welcome! I think it's time we crack the mystery that hovered around Summoner's Rift for ages. I think it's time to finally look into who the Ruined King was. Many years ago there was an empire somewhere in Valoran that no one remembers. There, Hecarim was recruited to a legendary company of knights known as the Iron Order. This was a brotherhood sworn to defend their king's land. He endured the most brutal training imaginable, a punishing regime that forged him into a formidable warrior. As he grew, so did his skills. He mastered every form of combat with ease, including his favorite mounted warfare. One day, as he defeated all of his fellow squires, the Knight Commander of the Iron Order finally recognized a glowing darkness within him. His obsessive hunger for glory was slowly consuming his honor, and the Knight Commander knew he must never become the master of the Iron Order. He called Hecarim to his private chambers and told him he would not be his successor. Though Hecarim was furious, he bit back on his anger and returned to his duties. The next time the Order was called to war, the Knight Commander found himself surrounded by enemies and isolated from his fellow knights. Only Hecarim could ride to his aid, but in the final moment, he turned his warhorse away and left the Knight Commander to die. At the end of the battle, the surviving knights knelt before Hecarim without the knowledge of what he had done, and they swore to follow him as their new master. One day, Kalista, the king's general, called Hecarim to the capital city. She served the king and queen as their personal guard and killed many assassins while doing so. Unfortunately, during the last assassination attempt, she deflected a poisoned knife which then sliced the queen's arm. The greatest priests, surgeons and sorcerers were summoned, but none could draw the poison from the queen's body. Even the king's magic could only slow its progress. Out of desperation, he sent Kalista on a quest to find a cure. That's when Hecarim's help comes into play. She called for Hecarim to protect the king while she was away on her quest. Of course, Hecarim accepted, and Kalista sailed away into the open sea. She traveled the world seeking help from scholars, hermits and mystics, but always without success. On one of her journeys, she learned about a legendary island beyond the sight of mortal eyes. A place said to hold the key to eternal life. The Blessed Isles. So, she set sails to her final destination. Once she got close to the isle's location, the inhabitants pulled her boat to the shores as they knew exactly what she was looking for. Kalista was out of options and begged them to heal the queen. Then, their leader came out and told Kalista to bring the queen to the island, where they would cleanse her body. As Kalista was ready to leave in her boat, she was given arcane words, a password that would reveal the island to her, but she was warned against sharing it with anyone. With that, Kalista sailed for her homeland, but she arrived too late. The queen was dead and the kingdom in ruins. Those were the consequences for leaving the Mad King with the Dark General. What happened is that the king slowly fell into paranoia. He ordered Hecarim and his order to kill anyone who would try to separate the king from the queen. Of course, Hecarim enjoyed that, but it wasn't enough. He lied to the king and told him he found the villages responsible for the queen's death, just so he could burn them down and kill hundreds more. But before he was ordered to ride out, Kalista returned. The king was now locked in his chamber with the queen's rotting corpse, so Kalista talked to her uncle instead. He demanded Kalista to tell him what she had learned, but she refused as she knew bringing a corpse to the Holy Land would be pointless. Upon getting the message, the king called her a traitor and imprisoned her until she decided to talk. After some time, Hecarim decided to visit Kalista in her cell. He promised her that if she told him what she learned, he would keep the king from any mad actions. After all, it was the only way to let the king find peace. Kalista agreed that leaving things as they were wouldn't help anyone, and she guided the king together with the Iron Order to the Blessed Isles. Once they arrived, they marched to a distant white city at the center of this place, where they met the master of the island's guardians. The king ordered the man to bring his wife back from the dead, but the master told him that trying to cheat death was against the natural order of the world. The king flew into rage and commanded Kalista to kill the guardian, but she refused. She told the king about the great man he once had been, but he ignored it and ordered Kalista to kill the guardian again. Kalista called on Hecarim to stand with her, but Hecarim decided to seal his own fate. He stepped towards Kalista as if to stand at her side, but instead he drove his spear through her back in a monstrous act of betrayal. The Iron Order joined him in treachery and plunged their spears into Kalista's body as she fell. A brutal battle erupted between those who trusted Kalista and Hecarim and his knights. Despite the resistance, Hecarim's men killed everyone, including the guardians and other innocent inhabitants. They kept killing all the monks and priests until one of them surrendered and showed them how to resurrect the queen. But when the queen returned to life, she was a horror of decayed meat and maggot-ridden flesh who begged to be allowed to die once more. Upon realizing what he had done to his beloved queen, the king unleashed his final spell to end their lives and bind them together for all eternity. The cast was successful, but as it caught more and more hidden magical artifacts of these lands in its explosion, the power increased 100 times. A hurricane of black mist surrounded the king, spreading across the landscape and killing everything it touched. Hecarim abandoned the king to his doom and led the Iron Order back to their ships, killing everyone in their path. As they rode, behind them the spirits of those they had slain arose again. Then the mist started catching up to them, claiming the knights one by one until only Hecarim remained, and even he wasn't able to escape death. As the mist filled Hecarim and his mighty steed, it fused their bodies together into a monstrous abomination that reflected the true darkness of his soul. Echoes of raging howl from agonizing transformation spread across the island. This was how the titanic beast known as the Shadow of War was forged, and this is how the Shadow Isles came to be. And that is one hell of a mystery solved. Many of you wondered about the story behind the Blade of the Ruined King. Not a lot of items have their own stories, but here you go, there's at least one of them. I know that Yorick's lore was just released and that they are preparing Satan Teemo for this Halloween, but I really hope that we get a tiny bit more story to the Shadow Isles to keep us in the mood. So let's hope. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to rate it below together with leaving comments of all sorts according to your liking. The earlier you comment, the higher chance there is for me to reply, at least that's the general rule for me. And with that, I really appreciate all of your feedback, especially on the new show. And thank you come again. So yeah, despite a lot of you saying that the show was too long, which was 40 minutes, it was actually really successful. There were some graphical glitches, that was on my side. I think it was 3 different answers that blinked the wrong answer. But yeah, despite that it was really successful. I already messaged 2 more guys that I want to get on the show, and they both agreed, so it's just a matter of time. Also, it is October, which means it is not only Halloween, but it is also my birthday on the 26th, so I may not stream on the 26th, but I may stream on the 27th or something really close to that, so that it still feels like a birthday stream. And I wanted to say one more thing, and I can't really remember what that was. So I guess I'll just leave it with that. Oh yeah, I don't know if my PO box will be up. It should still be up. I may keep it for another 3 months. And if I don't get anything, it's out. So you have time to still send me stuff until it's away. So see you in the next one.